Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam
Madhyamam
Asmadacharya-paryantam
Asmadacharya-paryam Vande Guru Saram.
Om
Om
Sahanavavatu
Sahana Bhavatu
Sahana
Sahana
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam
Sahaviryam
Karavavahai
Karavavakai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Madhyamavai Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti Shanti Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
So we will continue from where we left off. We are on the 12th chapter. We have finished verse number 13. So we will chant the 14th verse. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan
Bhagavanuvacha
Santushtas Satatam Yogi
Santushtam
Santushtam
Satatam Yogi
Yatatma Dhrida Nischayah
Yatatmata Nishtaya
Mayyarpitamano buddhi
Mayarapita Buddhiyo Buddhi
Bhakta Same Priyaha.
Tayo Madhasame
Okay. So look at the words. Saha Mad Bhaktaha. Second line. Saha Mad Bhaktaha. That Bhakta of mine, that devotee of mine, Mad Bhaktaha, my devotee, what has he done? Mai Manaha Buddhihi Arpitaha. His Manaha, mind and intellect are surrendered to me, are fixed upon me, and he is Yatatma Drida Nishchayaha. He has mastery over the mind. He is firm in his convictions. And Yaha Satatam Santushta Yogihi. He is the ever contented yogi. Me Priyaha. That person is dear to me. So, Satatam Santushtaha Yogi, the one who is always contented. And when are you always contented? When you don't lack anything in life. Whether you have no psychological want, you have no intellectual want, you have no emotion-wise want. Of course, you will always have physical wants, but that is not what is being talked about. The body will be there, food is required, water is required, clothing is required, comfort is required. We are not talking about that. We are talking about the psychological, intellectual, emotional contentment. And santushtaha he is, right? What is santushtaha? What does it mean? Shankaracharya describes very nicely. Utpanna alam pratyayaha. Pratyayaha, that thought which is utpannaha, whatever has come, alam, that is sufficient for me. Santushta means that thinking process where you have understood or where you think that whatever you have is sufficient for you. That is important. And not only that, Shankara adds one more comment. Gunavallabhe, whether favorable or viparyeye or unfavorable. So it is not that what you have got, only if it is favorable for you, you are santushta. Even if the environment is unfavorable, so gunavallabhe cha viparyeye, whether the circumstances you are facing are favorable or not, your thought is what? Utpannaha alam. Whatever is there is sufficient for me. I am content. This, of course, is a viewpoint of a sannyasi, right? Whatever is there is fine. What does Shankara say about a grahastha in this? You have to go back to one verse. Yellabhase nija karmopatam vittam tena vinodaya chitta. Where does it come?
Bhaja Govinda.
Bhaja Govindam. Yellabhase nija karmopatam. What is the difference here? The earlier definition which I said was the sannyasi point of view is utpannaha alam pratyaya. Whatever has come is fine. What is the grihastha part? Yellabhase nija karma upatam. Whatever I have got through my own effort, vittam tena vinodaya chittam. With that wealth, with that money, or with that whatever I've got, I am satisfied. So the earlier one was whatever has come through prarabdha. Here he is saying, not only that, I have made efforts. The grihastha has made an effort. And whatever he gets through his effort, that he is happy with. And yogi, next word is yogi. So each word Shankara defines. Yogi means here to distinguish from Yoga Shastram. He is saying samahita chit, the one whose mind is focused on what? Chittam Jnana Yoga. On Jnana Yoga it is focused. On Jnanam it is focused. And therefore this yoga here is basically Jnanam. Because it is only through Jnanam that the distinction between Jivatma and Paramatma can be removed. So remember when you talk about yogis, there are 4 types of yogis. Shastra talks about 4 types of yogis. So there is one yogi who has no siddhis, right? No miraculous powers. And he also has no jnanam. So the first type of yogi is a person who practices yoga, but there is no siddhi and no jnanam. No powers and no jnanam. The second type of yogi is one who has practiced yoga, and because of that he has got siddhis, but there is no jnanam. So first is no siddhi, no jnanam. Second one has siddhi but no jnanam. And there is a third one who has got jnanam but no siddhi. And there is a fourth one who has got both jnanam and siddhi. So Shastra talks about 4 types of yogis. 1, no siddhi, no jnanam. 2, siddhi but no jnanam. 3, jnanam but no siddhi. And 4, jnanam and siddhi both are present. Now, out of these 4, who are Jivan Muktas? Tell me.
The third one, who have only Jnanam.
Only Jnanam.
What about the fourth one?
Siddhi is not.
Siddhi and Jnanam both.
Siddhi.
Has he got moksha or not?
Yes,
Why?
because he has Jnanam.
Correct. So that is the deciding point. Does he have jnanam or not? Whether he has siddhi or not doesn't matter. Right? So out of these, only number 3, that is siddhi rahita jnanam, means jnanam without siddhi, he is Jivan Mukta. And the one who has jnanam and siddhi also, he is Jivan Mukta. The one who has siddhis but no jnanam, not Jivan Mukta. One who has neither also, not Jivan Mukta. Okay. Then the next word is yatatma. Okay. Yatatma, Shankara simply says, sanyita swabhavaha, a controlled or a managed swabhavaha. Swabhava is under control. Yata atma. So atma means swabhava here. Yata means to control. So sanyata swabhavaha. What is swabhavaha? Normally it means character or nature. How do you control nature? Shankara doesn't comment here. But so we go to the sub-commentators. There is a sub-commentator called Anandagiri. He says Swabhava here has to be understood as Karya, Karana, Sangataha, means the body, the sense organs, and the Antakarana. The body, mind, sense complex. So Swabhava is body, mind, sense complex. And therefore here the word Atma, Yat Atma. Yat is Sanyata, regulated, well managed, mastered. Atma has to be taken as Swabhava equal to the body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, Yatatma here is the person who has regulated or managed to control his body, mind, sense complex, which means sadhana chatusha sampatti is present. Okay. So each word I'm defining in terms of what Shankara says, because once these definitions are clear in your mind, you will never forget. They will be burnt into the mind. The next one is Drid Nishchayaha. Drid means what? Sthiram, stable. Nishchaya means conviction. Therefore, Drid Nishchaya is knowledge with conviction, which we saw in the second chapter as what? What was the term used there?
Sthita prajna.
Sthira prajna. Sthira prajna. Okay, so person who knows that he is Brahman with conviction. That is what is necessary. And Drid Nishchaya in respect of what? Krishna has not said. So Shankara adds Atma Tattva Vishaye. On the subject of the Atma Tattvam, with nature, with regarding the nature of Atma, and what is that nature? I am that Atma. That conviction is Dhrida Nishchaya. He is convinced of the fact that he is an Atma. And this is necessary. The clarity is necessary because there are a lot of people who have Dhrida Nishchaya on what? On the fact that I am the body or the mind. And therefore, this Atma Tattva Vishaye is a very important clarification that Shankara gives. Because we know, because of the context. But Shankara doesn't want to leave anything to chance. So he very, very careful about it. Okay. Now remember that in all the study that we have done, the Vedantic study, there are actually two different processes that we follow. First is Shravanam. And in the traditional manner, in the tradition, you are not supposed to raise any questions during Shravanam. Of course, we don't follow that here, largely because we don't do Shravanam every day. Had we been doing every day, we could have followed that. But we don't. We do once a week only, and therefore we don't follow that. We allow questions. But in the traditional methodology, in the tradition, when you go to a teacher, he teaches. And you listen without raising any questions for quite some time. What is the reason? Sometimes you get a doubt. But if you just write down the doubt and don't ask, you will find that as the teacher goes on teaching, those doubts get cleared. Right? And once the entire Shravanam is over, you will find that too many doubts are not there. If you have been, attentive and the Shravanam has been effective, you will find that too many doubts are not there. Some few doubts can remain. And therefore, there is a second process called Marana. When you eliminate that doubt. And then only you are convinced. Then only there is Dhrida Nishchaya. So, if you are not convinced at that point of time, you have to raise questions, at least during Manana or after Shravan. And once those questions are all answered correctly or to your satisfaction, then only will you be a Dhrida Nishchaya. Okay, the conviction that I am Atma or I am Brahman is there. Which means that you have no doubts about two things. Shastra has told you that you are Atma, that you have no doubt. Which means what? About the teaching, you've got no doubts. Right? Pramanam asamshaya is not there. You know that Shastra says you are Atma. And prameya asamshaya should not be there. You should not say that, okay, Shastra says I am Atma, but I am not very convinced about that. So when that is also over, then there is no pramana samshaya, there is no prameya samshaya, and therefore, at that point of time, you are a Dhrida Nishchaya. You have no doubts about the teaching and the fact that you are what the Shastra says you are. Okay. The next word is Maya Arpita Manobuddhi. So you have to break it up. Maya Arpita Manobuddhi. So Shankara decides that this complex word he will break and he will tell you. So he takes the Manaha part of it. There are two. Maya Arpita means surrendered to me, committed to me. And then Manaha and Buddhi, the intellect and the mind. So he wants to tell you what is the mind So he says, Manaha is Sankalpa Vikalpa Atmakam. What does it mean?
Oscillating mind. Matlab, do this or not
Oscillating
this.
mind. You consider something, then consider the opposite. Sankalpa Vikalpa means you take something and then the Vikalpa, you consider it opposite. So you are full of doubts, this or that, right? And why is it important? Because I know a person, at least one person I know, who is eternally considering different options, but conclusion he never comes to. So there are people who will consider options all the time, but never come to a conclusion. That person is a Sankalpa Vikalpa Atmaka. Always considering various methodologies, options, techniques, but finally not deciding anything. So that is Manaha. And Buddhi, Shankara says,
Nishya.
Adhyavasaya Lakshana. Adhyavasaya Lakshana means the Lakshanam, the indication is Adhyavasaya, decision making.
Nishchyatmak buddhi.
Nishchaya Atmakam. Yes, the Buddhi makes decisions, the mind is forever having doubts. And Arpita, Arpita here means Thapayati. They are to be placed in me. And therefore, the net meaning of this is that the emotional personality, the mind, and the buddhi, the questioning personality, the intellectual personality, the rational personality, both are to be placed at the feet of the Lord, surrendered to the Lord, committed to the Lord. And therefore, Krishna says, Samay Priyaha, such a person is very dear to me. Now, has Krishna said this before ever? Think. Because Shankara says he has.
Madbhakta Majja. There's a word.
Anybody? 7th chapter. One hint. No? Priyo hi jnanu jnaninotyartham aham sachamam priyaha. Right? That jnani mama priyaha is dear to me. Same thing is saying here. Sa me priyaha. That jnani who has done all this, he is the dearest to me. So Shankara reminds us of this. Shankara simply writes, Bhaga 717. Bhagavad Geeta 717. You have to fish out that verse and think about it. Connecting different verses is a very important part of our advanced study. Okay. Now we look at the 15th verse, which will stand. A very beautiful verse. Yasmanod vijate loka.
यस्मान्नोद्विजते
लोका
Lokanod vijate chayah.
Loka
लोकान्नोद्विजते
Harsha marsha bhayodvaigai.
Harsha
So yahastacha me priyaha.
मुक्तो
So to break up that word, yaha yasmat lokehe na udvijate. Udvijatam means disturbed. So saha, that person, yasmat lokaha na udvijate. He, saha, by whom yasmat lokaha na udvijate. He by whom the world is not disturbed. That is one part of the definition. And cha, second part, yaha lokat udvijate. That person who is not disturbed by the world. Okay, there are two things. The jnani does not disturb the world, and the world cannot disturb the jnani. So these are two definitions, very, very beautiful. You should commit this to memory. And not only that, yaha, that person, muktaha, he is free from harsha, amarsha, bhayaha, bhayaha, dvaigaihi, from excessive happiness, elation, from envy, from fear and anxiety. What happens to that person? Me priyaha, he is dear to me. So what is being said? When you interact with the world, when you talk to other people, you can be a very, insensitive person, or you can be a very sensitive person, right? When you talk to somebody, if you are rude and insensitive, what is the result?
Others are disturbed.
Others are hurt, they are disturbed. If you are very sensitive, and when you talk to the world, what happens?
You get hurt.
You get disturbed.
You get hurt because others can be rude, right? So any interaction with the world, depending on what sort of personality you are, there are two things. One is, if I am a rude, insensitive person, I hurt others. And if I am a very sensitive person, I get hurt. And so, this seems to be either or option, right? Either you get hurt or you hurt others. But here Krishna is saying is that the jnani, when he handles others, that is to say, the jnani in his role as a karta is like a flower. He is very sensitive. He doesn't hurt others. But when he receives experiences from the world, so in the role of karta, the jnani is like a flower. In the role of bhokta,
Is
when
like
he
a
is
stone.
receiving experiences from the world,
Is like a
then
stone.
he is like a mountain or a rock. Right? So he doesn't disturb others because he's like a flower. He doesn't get disturbed because during the bhokta role, he is like a rock. So in English, sensitivity is necessary, but sensitivity should be supported by emotional maturity. It's plain psychology also. You can be sensitive, you should be sensitive when you deal with others, but you should be emotionally mature so that their rudeness doesn't affect you. And therefore he says, Yasmat lokaha na udvijate jnanihi. The jnani is a person who does not hurt others, you have to add here, deliberately. Okay, there are always people who will read something into what you say which you did not mean at all, and such persons will get hurt. This you cannot avoid. You cannot bend over backwards, trying to figure out what they are going to read into you. And therefore, you have to say that a jnani is a person who does not deliberately disturb the world. Unknowingly, people may get hurt. That we are not talking about. And yaha lokat na udvijate. When it comes to being bhokta, people insulting you, criticizing you, abusing you, he makes a heart like rock, hard like rock. What is the net result of this? The jnani is free from hurt and guilt, which are very powerful emotions which disturb your mind. And therefore he says, Harsha Marsha Bhaya Dvaigehi. Let's look at what they are. Shankara defines. There are 4 problems. Harshaha. Harshaha is what? Happiness. What kind of happiness? Shankara says very clearly, Priya Labhe Antakarnasya Utkarshaha. Let's look at the words. Antakarnasya Utkarshaha. Excitement in the mind. Excitement. Utkarsha means excitement. Antakaranasya means in the mind. So antakaranasya utkarsha, excitement in the mind when priya labhe, when something priya, something favorable happens to you. And Shankara says, let me also define this particular thing. Right? He says, Romanchana. What is Romanchana?
Excitement.
Roma means happiness. So
You forgot the
it's
first
from
chapter.
that.
Goosebump.
Yeah.
रोंगटे खड़े होना.
Roma means hair.
Harsha Roma.
रोंगटे खड़े होना.
Roma means hair standing on end, which is what you call goosebumps, right? You saw that in the first chapter. Arjuna says, my hair is standing up. That was a different reason altogether. But here, the hairs are standing up. That is the extent of the excitement. You are so happy that your hairs are standing up. You get goosebumps. So Shankara says, even that kind of happiness, when it happens, because you have received something favorable, it is called harshaha. And Shankara says, there is an indication of this. You are so happy, ashrupata adi, that tears come from your eyes. Has anybody cried with happiness ever?
Yes.
That is what he's
Yes.
saying. When you are very happy, your emotions are uncontrollable and you cry also. So that kind of happiness is called harshaha. Imagine the amount of detail which Shankara is going to try to make us understand what exactly is harshaha. Then harsha, amarshaha. Amarshaha is intolerance. Shankara doesn't say anything more. But subcommentators add that this intolerance can be in the form of jealousy of others, jealousy when somebody else acquires property or success, right? Anything which you don't have, when somebody acquires, that strong jealousy which comes, that is called amarshaha. Then bhayam. Bhayam is fairly clear, fear or insecurity because of events which you don't like, which unfavorable events. And udvegaha means mental disturbance, sorrow, and that can be caused either by amarshaha or bhayam. So udvegaha is to be connected to the first, second and third. You are so jealous of others that your mind is disturbed. That is udvegaha. Or you are so afraid that your mind is disturbed. That is also udvegaha. Right? Then there is anxiety. Like all of us will think, what will happen to me when I grow old? Now you try to take care of it by building up a bank balance, by buying a house, but that fear is there. When I am old and there's nobody around, who will take care of me? So the anxiety is also a very serious problem. That anxiety can cause udvegaha. So many udvega literally means mental disturbance. But you have to connect what are the events which cause that udvegaha. So you have amarshaha, you have bhayam, you have anxiety about the future, right? Okay. Yeah. So what about the jnana yogi? The jnana yogi is in a binary format. He is not afraid of anything. Why? Because he knows na jayate mriyate va kadachi. I am never born, I never die. There is a small little verse, which is often quoted about a jnani. Now, this verse basically is talking about a lion, but it's applicable to a jnani because a lion doesn't have any, anxieties. Lion has no udvegaha. So the verse is ekoham asahayoham खुशोहम परिच्छेदः सपनेपि एवं विधा चिंता मृगेंद्रस्य न जायते. So ekoham, I am alone. Eka aham, I am alone. Asahayo aham, I am without any support. Then aham kushaha, I am without any protective cover. that aham khushaha parichidda. Parichidda is the cover. I am without any protective cover. Sapne api evam vida chinta mrigendrasya na jayate. Even during dreams, sapne api evam vida chinta. These kind of worries, anxieties, sapne api, even in a dream, mrigendrasya na jayate. Do not trouble a thought. These thoughts do not arise in a lion even in his dreams. So the lion never worries about these facts. So anxiety comes in the form of these four things. I am alone, I am helpless, I am weak, I have no support, I have no protective cover, I have no shelter. These are the four thoughts. And there's a very nice, saying by Swami Chinmayananda. He says, whenever you have the thought, I am alone, what should you do? Don't change the words. Just rearrange it. What is the rearranged sentence?
Alone I am.
No.
The one, only one. Huh?
Am I alone?
I alone am. Only I exist. So, very nice. Whenever you think I am alone, say fine. But I alone am. I only exist. That am here refers to the existence principle. Alone here refers to Advaitam. I is you, Atma, Brahman. So that whole sentence is rearranged to say, I, Brahman, alone exist. And that's why the Jnani is compared to the lion. He is without fear. He doesn't worry about the body. Okay. Now, we look at verse number 16. We will chant. Anapeksa Sushirdakshaha
Anapekshah Suchidarshah
Udasino Gataha
Udasino Gatavyatha
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 Sarvarambha Parityagi
Sarvarambha Parityagi
Yo Madbhakta Same Priyaha.
Yo Madbhakta Same Priya.
So let's look at each of these words again with Shankara's help. Anapekshaha. What does anapekshaha mean?
Free
What does
from
apeksha mean? Apeksha means
no
expectation.
expectations.
No, it.
Anapeksha means free from expectations. What kind? So Shankara says, Deha Indriya Vishaya Sambandadishu Apeksha Vishayeshu Anapekshaha Nispraha. Deha Indriya Adi Deha Indriya Vishaya Sambandadishu Anapekshaha. I can understand no expectations in respect of Deha Indriya Vishayaha. Sambandha. He doesn't have any expectations, which means he doesn't depend upon a relationship with the physical body, Deha, sense organs, Indriyaha, Vishayaha, sense objects, Sambandhadishu, which means this person doesn't depend on his relationship with his physical body, his sense organs, or sense objects for his happiness. Ultimately, meaning what? He understands that the body is mithya. He does not suffer from the confusion that he is happy only if his body is in good condition. That he is happy only if sense organs are in good condition. Why is this important? Why is this idea important? your happiness cannot depend upon the body and the sense organs because they will not remain fit forever. Where did you learn that?
Tatvota.
Shadvikara. Right? These things are going to. Plus, he is not depending upon the objects, sense objects also, because he knows that sense objects come and go. Sensory pleasures are temporary. And how does he know that? Ultimately, he knows that he is the Atma. Everything is located in him. And therefore, he has no dependence on any of these things. And that is very crucial. It is easy to say that I don't depend upon my body. But why? Because the body is dependent upon me, the Atma. The idea here is to say that I am Atma, not the Jivatma. The Jivatma is definitely dependent upon the body. But if you are Brahman, if you are Paramatma, then everything is located in you. And what is in you is dependent upon you, not the other way around. And therefore, there is no dependence at all. That is why there is a verse. Sarvam paravasham dukkham. What does it mean?
किसी के dependence will give you dukh.
Right. Sarvam paravasham dukkham. All that you are dependent upon will give you only pain. Sarvam atmavasham sukham. When you are independent, it will give you only it will give you only happiness. And that's the second line is very important. Etat vidyat samasena lakshanam sukha dukkhayoho. This definition that dependence is pain and independence is happiness, this is the definition of pain and sorrow. No other definition is Shastric. Sarvam paravasham dukkham, sarvam atmavasham sukham, etat vidyat samasena lakshanam sukha dukkhayoho. Okay. What kind of happiness is this? This is Atma happiness, independent happiness. If you want Pratibimba Sukham, experiential happiness, what is required? An object is required. People are required. And objects and people, they come and go. Therefore, Pratibimba Sukham is a dependent happiness, dependent upon the people or the objects. And therefore, it is Sarvam Paravasham Dukkha. That those people, those objects are not going to be there forever. You may be experiencing reflected happiness, experiential happiness, but when those people or the objects go away, what will happen? There will be pain. And therefore, if you want permanent happiness, Bimba Sukham, the happiness belonging to the Atma, is the only means. And that is why Jnanam is the only means. And that is why he says Anapekshaha. You cannot be dependent upon object or people for permanent happiness. A very, very beautiful way of defining Anapekshaha. Okay. Then Shuchihi and Dakshaha. So Shuchihi means cleanliness, both externally and internally. Shankara very carefully says both externally and internally he is clean, which means he keeps his house, his room, his surroundings clean, but he also keeps his mind clean, which means free from asuri sampattaha, negative qualities. You will find that a long list will be given when we come to chapter 16 of what is asuri sampattaha. Then the next word is dakshaha. So dakshaha normally means what?
Skillful.
Skillful, efficient. Okay, so Shankara thinks that is not sufficient. So he says, Pratyutpanneshu karyeshu sadhyaha yathavat pratipattum samarthaha. This person who is dakshaha, who is an efficient person, samarthaha, He has the capacity. He is capable of what? Pratyutpanneshu karyeshu. Whatever event faces him in any time, at any point of time. Karyeshu, which requires action. What does he do? Yathavat pratipattum. He does an assessment. And this particular phrase is extremely important. Pratyutpanneshu karyeshu yathavat pratipattum means whenever something, some situation faces you, you do an objective assessment. Yathavat means as it is. As it is means without any adhyasa, without any emotional, you know, emotional colors on the assessment. Your assessment should be very, very objective. That objectivity is called yathavat. Yathavat pratipattum. He objectively understands, analyzes the situation as it is, without allowing his emotions to come into play, analyzes the pros and cons. Therefore, pratipattum means assessment. And then, karyeshu, he takes a decision. And not only that, sadhyaha, quickly he takes a decision. In time, he takes a decision. He does not delay the decision, because we all know that a delayed decision is often worse than no decision. And therefore, net to net, he is saying that this dakshaha means this person analyzes every situation that he faces in life and gives an appropriate response, which means he is not very aggressive in the sense punch everybody in the nose. He does not become that sort of a person. Nor is he very submissive. He is not a doormat also. That's what is meant by appropriate response after correctly analyzing a situation. Okay. Now, from the point of Vedanta, Daksha can have another meaning. Okay. Daksha means that he knows that all products are merely nama rupa, and therefore he knows that every product is identical with Ishvara. There is no difference between a karyam and the karanam. He knows, and that is why the Lord also sometimes is called Dakshaha. Right? He knows all products as parts of himself, as mithya parts of himself. And therefore, this particular Dakshaha is a person whose mind analyzes situations without letting the mind be touched by raga or dvesha, and gives the appropriate response, objective response. So that is the meaning of Daksh. Then Udasinaha. Udasinaha normally is, when you talk about, you say indifferent. Okay. Now the problem is the word indifferent. When you say this person is indifferent, it is got a negative tone to it. And Shankara doesn't want that. So he says, Udasina means na kasyachit mitradehe paksham bhajate. Right? Which means that he does not keep the division of a friend or an enemy. Mitradehe means mitro shatru. So he does not keep the division of friend enemy when he is relating with somebody, when he's interacting with somebody. That person is neither a friend nor an enemy. And na paksham bhajate, he does not join any groups. And this is very, very important idea. He's an impartial person who does not take sides. Because for a person who is doing Vedantic sadhana, you are interested in an objective understanding of what you are studying. And if you take any particular side, the emotion which goes with choosing a side, sometimes you will find that you find it difficult to accept an opposite point of view. Therefore, he is saying that this person has dispassion and objectivity with regard to all situations in life, including his own body and mind. It is not that he is indifferent, because wherever he has a responsibility to do something, as a father, as a son, as a grandfather, as a husband, as a wife, as an employee, as an employer, he will not ignore that responsibility. He will not be indifferent. And therefore, the word udasinaha cannot be seen as indifferent,
It's impartial.
impartial. Then gatha vyathaha. So Shankara says gata vyathaha has to be taken as gata bhayaha, free from fear. Gata means gone. So bhaya is fear. But remember that vyathaha also means sorrow. So though Shankara takes it as free from fear, we can take it as free from sorrow also. Both meanings are fine. Free from sorrow, free from fear. Why? Because this jnani knows that experiences are dictated by prarabdha. And because of that, all experiences will be determined by desh, kala, and prarabdha. And therefore, you have no control over that. So the jnani doesn't try to change the world or a situation. Vedanta will only help me in understanding the situation and developing a healthy attitude towards all situations. So rather than saying, why is this happening to me? You should say that this is an experience that Ishvara is giving me. I have to ask, what is it that I can learn from that experience? And that is why the Karma Yogi is free from fear, because he has Ishvara as a protector. Jnani is free from fear also, but not because he has Ishvara as a protector, but because of what?
He knows.
Because he is Ishvara.
No other.
He
You remember,
himself is
Jnani is
Ishvara.
free, Karma Yogi is free
Alone
from
I
fear
am.
because Karma Yogi depends upon Ishvara as a protector. Jnani is free from fear not because he depends upon Ishvara, but because as Ishvara, there is nothing that he has to fear. Two important points. Then, Sarva Arambha Parityagi. Normally, Arambha means beginning, but Shankara says here, Arambha here has to be taken as that which has been begun, which means karma. So, Sarva Karma Parityagi. And what are these karmas? So, karmas are taken for the purpose of gaining phalam either here in this world or in the next world. So, we have seen that. Eha mutra phalabhogar. Right? Kama hetu are for the purpose of desire, fulfilling desires, karmas are undertaken. And those desires can be to have fruits either in this world or in the next world. Thus, Arambaha here refers to Kamya Karma, desire generated actions. And therefore, Sarva Arambha Parityagi has to be taken as Sarva Kamya Karma Parityagi, one who has renounced Kamya Karma. Okay. Why am I saying this? Because there is a very finite, very subtle difference. The one who gives up actions before jnanam is a sarva karma palatyagi. Right? But the one who has given up actions after jnanam, when you say he is sarva karma palatyagi, what does it mean?
He will still experience the phalam of any
That is okay. I'm saying what is
karma.
the difference? The one who gives actions, gives up karma
There
before
is
jnanam is sarva karma palatyagi. But the one who gives up actions after jnanam, remember he might be doing those actions.
But he's
no
doing it
kartritvam.
for
Yes,
He
but
has no
kartrutvam. Kartrutvam is
Yes,
important.
no kart.
And that is the jnani. Yo bhaktaha me priyaha. Such a bhaktaha is very dear to me. That is what he says. So we have 3 verses left, and therefore I will, 4 verses left. So I will leave this for the next class. Any questions?
इसमें ये जो बोला उदासीना है वो no गतव्य था and जो उद्वेगो with the previous nurse, there's the same meaning.
Different contexts.
Yeah, but same. Who's not trouble?
Ultimately, the person is not troubled. That's okay.
Different words, but same beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, basically the idea is very simple. The idea has to be explained in different words so that it is driven into your head properly. There's nothing new in all the thousands of words that we use, but there are different words, different contexts, different examples explaining the same old idea.
Gatavyatha is also untroubled and uddig.
Okay. So with this, we'll stop for today. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Namah Shivaya.